Hey everybody, Mark Pachetti here, and I am joined here today by another copywriter, Mike Henderson.
Hi guys.
So today we're talking about agencies and our brand new copywriting agency and what makes it different from all the other digital and Madison Avenue type agencies of 2020. So the theme of this very quick webinar is do you want campaigns that stand the test of time, that build brands that become synonymous with what you solve or satisfy, or are you content in churning and burning, going through campaigns in 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months? Maybe you can eke out 9 months or a year, but campaigns that aren't going to stabilize and keep scaling. And that's what it's really all about in 2020. Scalable brands, offers that build brands, offers, solutions, products, services that become the symbol for what you solve or satisfy, just like Coke is to cola. You want that brand association, that brand recognition. So as we get into this, I want you to keep in mind that there's a very big difference in copywriters and digital agencies out there in terms of how they conduct business, how they interact with you, how they build your campaigns, and oftentimes, if not most of the time, how they let these campaigns fall by the wayside and you never ever get the market share that you want, need, or deserve.
Yep.
So our vision, Mike, if you want to just talk about collaboration and, why it's so important in developing and scaling relevant, authentic campaigns digitally on the major traffic platforms, cold traffic platforms, getting people who've never ever heard of you to be interested in your brand, in your campaign, in your product or service, in your solution, in your messaging. And it starts with collaboration.
Yeah, absolutely. Collaboration is key. And it feels to me like in the past 10, 15, 20 years, we've got further and further away from a situation where copywriters and business owners are sitting around the table, talking, bringing out the best initiatives, finding the best creative between themselves. It's kind of like in the digital marketing agencies of the years going back to the turn of the century, we've seen copywriters shifted towards the back room, taking jobs on, doing jobs, but not really having that conversation up front. And this vision of ours is to bring that back. So to have the agency led by copywriters, where the collaboration is happening between the entrepreneur and the copywriter who's writing the campaign. There is no generic middleman in the way, someone who's kind of getting in between, taking orders, passing them on. This is us facing you. And that's going to allow us to actually make campaigns that last, that stand the test of time, that have the best elements in them, because we've spoken to you, we've teased out those ingredients that really matter. And all of this kind of hyped up stuff that just fatigues after a month or 2 months because no one really knows what's going on, that is not our style. This is really about building the best, the strongest campaigns for you.
And we're going to tell you how we do it. So how did we get here? Copywriters, I love the show Mad Men. I know you haven't really seen it, but it showed Don Draper, Sterling Cooper, the agency on Madison Avenue. Copywriters are at the very top of the creative food chain, and everybody works from the top down. Copywriters create the creative, design storyboards. Everybody gets together online with the campaign. The account man is whining and dining the clients, making sure that they're having fun. And the whole point was to sell media. The copywriters were value added. The top agencies wanted the top copywriters because they knew it was the copywriters who created the business. The campaigns that the copywriters came up with were meant to be effective and iconic, because the more effective and iconic they were, the more ad dollars, the more media the client would buy, and that's where they took their money off the top of media. So the bigger the media ad spend, the more money that these big agencies made. They didn't necessarily charge for the copy. The copy was just it was just the bait at the end of the line. Ah, gotcha. And then that's how they procure clients. But it was always the copywriter that did it, and everybody else they weren't subservient, but they were looking for the copywriters to create the leadership.
Yeah. Do you want to give us an example of how those iconic campaigns were really unfolded, some of the impact that they had on people and trends in the market?
Well, I mean, this example right here on the screen, Pepsodent, Claude Hopkins, the copywriter, used one of our elements that make our campaign successful, which is a new cause, giving people a new reason to invest their attention, their engagement in an advertising conversation. Now, dentists are the ones who tell their clients, hey, you got to brush your teeth. But it was Claude Hopkins selling Pepsodent and came up with the new cause of grime on the teeth that sold the very first toothpaste. So a copywriter created the trend of us brushing our teeth and having better dental hygiene, not dentists.
That's crazy. And we still do it religiously to this day, right?
Absolutely. De Beers. How many people are willing to pay, how many men are willing to pay a year of their salary for a diamond ring because advertisers said, this is how you propose, this is how you get married. And yet if these incredibly valuable diamonds, if all these diamonds that were mined were put out into the marketplace, they would be worth about as much of a quartz crystal. But it's because copywriters created these trends that men mindlessly, without thinking about it, without questioning it, invest a year or more of their salary into an engagement ring to spend the rest of their lives with the woman they love. So copywriters and the way that copywriters were used at the top of the pecking order back in the day, and I'm not saying before we move forward that copywriters still aren't playing those roles in some way, shape, or form today, but it's very different.
Yeah, it's changed, right?
So what changed?
Yeah, what changed?
We went from, in print advertising, those Madison Avenue days, the Mad Men days, there was a golden age of doctors being able to say Lucky Strikes are less irritating to the nose and throat. And then doctor testimonials by the FTC, FDA were like, no, can't say that. Very first episode of Mad Men was Lucky Strike coming to Sterling Cooper, coming to Don Draper. Okay, doctor testimonials are out the window. What do we do? What do we do? And the whole episode was kind of surrounding the creative of what do we do? And then finally, Don Draper asks the right questions. How do you grow your tobacco? And the owner of Lucky Strikes kind of goes through it and he's like,
I've seen this one. Yeah.
They're toasted. That's it. It's toasted. And he's like, well, all of the 6 main tobacco, they're all toasted. And Don Draper's like, no, their cigarettes are dangerous. Yours, toasted. And it was just like, okay, wait a minute. We can say or do anything. We can create a world to invite people, to attract people into, to attract customers into. And it works when you have a new cause, when you have a new mechanism, when you are utilizing the Jedi-like powers to put people's attention on what you choose, not them. That's the power of persuasion. And it doesn't require these out of this world hooks and grandiose claims. And we're going to get into that. But it went the same way in digital marketing, around the year 2000 until right now. It's been very much like the Wild West, wouldn't you say?
It is. And we've been talking about this a lot, haven't we? Just the parallels that we're seeing now. But to understand that, as you were talking about, you have to know what came before. So in the era of print advertising, for a while, you could get away with saying what you wanted. And then the agencies, the regulatory bodies started to clamp down on that, started to question some of these offers, scrutinize what was being put out. And all of a sudden, it was a different environment. And then guess what? Along comes the internet. And suddenly we're in a new world again, which we talk about as being the Wild West, which is what it was. When the internet hit, suddenly there were no rules and you could, for a while at least, say exactly what you wanted. And in this window, in this kind of interlude, integrity really went out the window. People were able to manipulate, to say things that weren't true, to do a whole list of unethical things. And we've got some here. I mean, this is just a fraction of, if you go back to that last one, Mark, the point here is just a fraction of the things that were happening at that time. But people were making outrageous claims. They were inventing authorities, faces and voices that didn't really exist, who would then go on and talk about their experiences. It was all fabricated. We had a lot of manipulation, squeezing the money out quick to move on to the next campaign, swiping, ripping off other campaigns. So there was a lot of stuff which really wasn't very clean at all happening. And that went on for a long time. And I think the digital marketing agencies of yesteryear were quite pivotal in that. They were really helping to perpetuate that cycle, those practices, and this was all happening. And really, up until maybe 2-3 years ago, people thought they could get away with whatever they wanted. But as we're going to see, the tide has turned a bit.
So this is from last year. Agora, which is one of the biggest publishers, agencies in direct response in the world, got pinched. Both departments of Agora, financial and health, got pinched for making absurd claims. And the diabetes cure, reverse type 2 diabetes in 30 days, I think was like the main claim.
Is that even possible, Mark?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
But for 99.99999% of the population, the answer is absolutely no. Type 2 diabetes is absolutely caused by diet and lifestyle. However, whatever it was they're selling, even if it's exactly what people need to do, most people can't achieve those results, which make those results out of this world. Fantastic. Grandiose.
Untrue. In this case, they were marketing to older people as well, weren't they? Like senior citizens, and it was all a bit
exactly and
dodgy.
Making claims like that, something that Agora and a lot of other copywriters and a lot of other digital marketing agencies don't understand is when you make these kind of claims in the marketplace, these verticals get flagged. So the more verticals are flagged, the more attention and compliance is put on these verticals for anybody who wants to get in that space. Anybody who wants to take over or get a big chunk of the pie, they have to adjust to what happened before so that they don't fall into the same pitfalls. Even if they are being compliant, they have to be extra compliant in order to fly under the radar of compliance, so to speak. But it's these false claims that big publishers like Agora and big agencies like what I've gone through and worked with. Last year, I was hired as head of copy for one of these major digital agencies. And to say that, I'm a 15-year copywriting veteran, but when I sat down to write copy that was assigned to me before I was even able to start working my way into the head of copy position because they had such a backlog of creative to get done for their clients, I ended up writing some of the most generic stuff I've written maybe in my entire career, because it was rush, get something out. Here's a one-page spec sheet. Limit your research because we need to get this out. The client was expecting it 2 weeks ago.
You can't rush the research, it has to be done. You have to do the work, as we always say.
And there was zero collaboration. In fact, I wrote copy I knew the client wouldn't like. And when they gave me a recording of the client's feedback, everything he said, I agreed with. And I told them up front, this is likely what would happen when you have somebody who has such a distinct brand. They want specificity in their copy, and I couldn't provide that because I didn't have access. So without access and collaboration to the people, to the person I need to be talking to so I can get all the ingredients out in front of me and I can write the most authentic copy possible, we lean on grandiose false claims in order to create some sort of persuasion.
Yep. Just for the people out there listening, Mark, do you have a sense of which verticals are really coming under the microscope now? We've talked about Agora and diabetes.
Dating, like getting specific keto, specific ingredients in supplementation are flagged, like turmeric and aloe vera, like niacinamide, riboside. They are flagged. That doesn't mean they're banned. Dating and relationships, for the most part, are banned because of absurd. You have to say, all you have to do is say these magical phrases, and you can take any woman home and have her taking off her panties within 5 minutes. You know, those types of claims shut down that vertical on the major traffic platforms because people were making claims that weren't true. The era of I want to say whatever I want to say and nobody can tell me otherwise is over. And Skynet is why. This is really the rise of the machines, because that's what compliance is. It's artificial intelligence that is tracking and recording everything that we're doing so that we can't keep doing it. They know us better than we know us. They know our tricks better than we know our own tricks. And they're not going to let us get away with it anymore. And so if you really do want to scale and stand the test of time, build brands that become synonymous for solving whatever it is you solve or satisfy, well, guess what? In order to do that, you need to be more aware of this than everybody else. But the thing is, Mike, and we know this, that when you are aware, your creative capacity expands, and all of a sudden what felt like limitation isn't.
Yeah. You need that structure around you to kind of govern the space in which you operate, for sure. And you know, what you said is exactly right. With the machines, with AI, it's becoming so much more important to get it right, because maybe before you could slip through the net, you could find ways of cutting corners. Now everything is scrutinized. And I think there are so many people out there that haven't caught on to this yet, that every element of your funnel, of your brand, of your positioning is being looked at, is being crawled over by bots and AI and machine learning. And there's nothing you can do about it. You have to accept this and move forward into this new paradigm. Accept that the world has changed, accept that there's censorship, regulations, even the social media, the tech platforms themselves don't want to associate with you if you're a bit dodgy, you know, if you're saying things that aren't quite right. They want to keep a distance from you. So the poor quality offers are being punished for that now. And as Mark just said, we've seen entire verticals getting banned on cold traffic. So this is for real, and this is only going to get more and more intense.
And by the way, the idea that these bots only go so many minutes into your VSL or so many pages into your funnel isn't true. They oftentimes go all the way through the upsells. So, and sometimes they don't. But do you want to take that chance? Do you want to have your account shut down, and do you want to be demonetized? You know, Mike, one of the things we talked about that I said I don't want to talk about is this big thing happening in the world. And I don't even want to mention what that big thing happening in the world is right now, because I don't want this to be crawled and have that word, have this video, which we are advertising on cold traffic, get flagged. There are just certain things that you need to be aware of and stay away from if you want to stand the test of time. So what is this new model of digital agencies? Well, it's led by copywriters. We're going back old school. We're bringing it new school. What is a copywriter, by the way, Mike? What is a copywriter? Because there's a lot of people calling themselves copywriters that aren't really copywriters.
Sure. I mean, essentially a copywriter is a leader. A copywriter is not someone who you call up and say, hey, you do this kind of stuff, don't you? Can you write this for me? This is what I want. Just cover this, put some features and benefits in, and you know, send it back to me, and then you're done. I'll pay you. A copywriter is a leader. And the reason we talk about being partners in this endeavor is because that's the only way that we're going to build something for you that works, converts, not just today, tomorrow, next month, but for a long, long time. And we can help you as an equal build a brand. But we have to understand that to be in that, we're in it together. We're working side by side. You see here, we talk about leading by copywriters, but also collaboration. This is about you, your team, us sitting around a table, understanding people's strengths and weaknesses, and us developing, blueprinting a vision for what you have and leading the way so that we can actually turn that into something which has integrity, which has potential, and which is still going to be around months and even years from now. So that's a copywriter's job. If you're not doing that, you're not really a copywriter.
And copywriters, by the way, create trends. Yeah, we want to look at what works and apply, you know, old school strategies and techniques to our advertising. to our creative. However, we're also creating something brand new. It's like, if I run for president, my campaign is going to be very different than yours, even if we have similar thinking, because we're different people and we need our individual energies, our essence, our authenticity to come out. That's a big deal and what attracts people these days, because what used to work was inauthentic campaigns that were making big claims with these big messaging, like Obama the third term. Obama's going to Obama's going to be president of the United States for a third term because we're fracking, and this fracking is going to create a new golden era, and we're going to become the #1 exporters of oil, which we actually are. Where's this golden era? So these big claims are made in order to sell, and now people have become more and more and more aware of being able to see, oh, I've seen that before. Oh my God, are you kidding me? So we need to be real. We're data driven. We work with you. We work with your media team. We don't have one in-house, but we work with your media team. Again, we're building brands and we stand behind our copy until it works. That doesn't mean you get your money back. That means that we keep performing until we hit what is optimizable and scalable, so that we're getting massive chunks of the marketplace and helping the most people. So just quickly, Mike, one of the things that we're going to get into, I think, in the next slide is, some of the elements that we use. Well, our mechanism for predictably being able to convert and scale on cold traffic is a system called heuristic copywriting. Now, heuristics is the psychology and the science of symbols, association, and storytelling. Doesn't matter where you're born, what color your skin is, what religion you do or don't subscribe to, what language you actually speak. We all speak in the language of stories. In fact, the very first wall post was actually in caves, not Facebook. We've always spoken in stories. Old traditions passed down their wisdom, passed down their traditions as a culture through verbal story. And
theater and plays and all that kind of stuff. It's all stories, right?
Absolutely. And even today we think and speak in story. Oh my God, you wouldn't believe, Mike, Joe stole my hours. I don't know what to do. Oh, Mom, my work is screwing me. We all speak in story. So we have to know what that story is so we can get the most people to raise their hands, and we use specific elements to do that. What are these elements?
What are elements? Well, elements are like building blocks, really, and any piece of marketing or copy, whether you realize it or not, has a structure to it. Now, we're big on structure, and some people aren't, but we are. And I think the only way you can ensure that the creative that you produce is as powerful as it needs to be is by understanding the building blocks and using them in the right way. It's like you wouldn't build a house or something without first planning it, having a structure in place, and then using that map to actually bring it into reality. Elements can be anything. Let's be honest. An element could be something quite small, just like a guarantee or a bolt-on. But we work with a set of elements that are proven to actually be consistent, important components of any piece of written work, any sales letter, any advert, anything like that. All of these things have to have a place there. Otherwise, it won't hang together. It won't do the job that it's meant to. The ones that we've noted here are particularly important to making sure your messaging is really, really on point, because as we saw in the last slide, everyone's telling a story. Imagine how much noise there is out there right now in the digital marketplace. You're being pulled in 100 different ways. Look at this offer, look at that. Let me grab your attention. If you're not actually tapping into that narrative that people are telling in their heads, the most important concerns on their mind, then you're not going to get their attention. They're going to click away. It's a simple fact. So positioning is really about that. It's about really coming into the conversation in a way that resonates with your target audience, gets them to stop and say, hey, yeah, that's me. How did you know? This is exactly what I'm experiencing. And that's the way to really bring down that defensive barrier and get them to open up and think and listen to what you're saying. After that, new cause. Well, what is the new cause? Well, think about it this way. If you have a problem, which you've been suffering from for many years, we all have them right, Mark, things that we've not getting right, it might be a relationship, a health issue. We try everything. We want to solve this. And we've tried tens, maybe dozens, hundreds of things to cure that problem. And it hasn't gone away. We are skeptical. It's a natural human reaction. Now, if you come along with this big magic cure, people aren't going to believe you off the bat. They've tried it before. They've heard something similar. You need to come up with a unique angle that actually makes people think, yeah, hold on, he's got a point there. That could be something that works. It kind of suspends that disbelief. It allows them to see, okay, now I'm looking at this problem in a different way. That could be an angle of attack on this, which actually might help me solve it. So new cause is really about finding that entry point into the conversation, which gets people to think, well, this actually could work because it's different. It's something new. The last one, mechanism, is really just the science of the product. It's at the heart of any offer that you're making. You need a solid mechanism. You need a way that people can see how it works for them. So they can say, right, I get it now. That's how it works. Once you've got that, everything really flows on from there. So really 3 important elements. We swear by these. It's the way we work. It's how we build offers that convert, that, as we say, stand the test of time. You need to have these in there. You need to work with someone that knows how to incorporate elements into a written piece. I don't think I've missed them.
The thing about mechanism too, it's just like if you're watching a movie, you need a reason to suspend your disbelief. You need to be able to see yourself in it. And so one of the things that heuristic copywriting does and heuristic digital marketing does is taps into people's mirror neurons. Now, mirror neurons are in our gut, they're in our first brain, and they are literally our empathy and what create that invisible psychic connection. And so we want to tap into those mirror neurons, and to help people suspend their disbelief so that we can tap into those mirror neurons, we have to give them a reason why it works for me. You know, features what it does, benefits what it does for me, mechanism, why it works for me. And when I understand why it works for me, I can suspend my disbelief and engage in the conversation. And without that, nobody buys.
Give us an example of a mechanism, Mark, because maybe for some people this is still kind of like,
for instance, a lot of people know I work with My Doctor Suggests. It's a structured alkaline silver supplement. And the mechanism for bad bacteria and candida is simple. The structured alkaline water breaks apart the biofilm, which is antibiotic resistant largely now and is increasingly so, while the silver, which is brilliantly missing its electron, it's intelligently designed by nature that way, bonds to the candida and bad bacterial cells until they rupture, become an amoeba, water, just a puddle. And then we pee them out in the bathroom. Now, for virus, silver does something very interesting. Ooh, I said a bad word. B word. Now, these pathogens in the blood, they go for excitable elements like cells. And when there's silver molecules in the bloodstream, these viruses, which are looking for a place to inject their virus into so that they create mutations, get tricked by these silver cells and instead bond to them and then are then eliminated. So that's the mechanism. That's how it works for me. And I can build all kinds of messaging in all different types of niche verticals inside of health and supplementation. So mechanism is what allows us to find all the different points of positioning, different new causes that can get me to raise my hand. Now, this is all about testing. With everything that we've just said, Mike, it's always everybody's best educated guess. We have to figure out a best point to launch from. That's like our prototype. And then we have to run that, like if it's a brand new car, we have to run that prototype on the track and see how it performs and see what needs to be optimized so that it performs better and better and better and better. And in this case, until it's optimized to the point where we can scale, where we can really, start taking a market share by helping the most people.
Yep.
And so we are constantly working with your media team to respond to data. Sometimes it's every day, sometimes it's once a week. Usually in the beginning, it's more. And as we start finding equilibrium and getting traction in the marketplace, it becomes lesser. But we're always trying to improve what's there and always then beat what's there, because if we're not going to improve and beat what's there, somebody else is. And that's one of the ways that we stand the test of time. We have to constantly freshen up and constantly give people new ways to raise their hand. So here's how we work. Mike, kind of just give us a brief explanation, demonstration, articulation, communication of how we work?
Sure. So it's pretty simple, actually. You know, once we've established a line of communication, the interview is very important because, again, we take research very seriously. Okay, copy is important, writing is important, but what really matters is that we have all of the ingredients, all of the knowledge that we need in order to be able to do our job, to put together a campaign which really hits the mark. So we pay a lot of attention to making sure that everyone that's relevant to that whole conversation is around the table at the beginning. We interview you, we listen, and listening is really an important part of our strategy. We want to get all of the information out of the
What did you say? Listening? What is
something about didn't hear it. No, and it's critical that we at the start get it right. We get all of the ingredients that we can from you. We want to know about your business, your product, your experiences in the market, the prospects that you're dealing with, and we can do that from our own research. But it's very, very important to be able to hear it from the horse's mouth. So the interview process is a way to get to know each other, but also to get those ingredients together so that we have as much potential, as much firepower as possible to be able to build a vision, which is stage 2.
And by the way, Mike, we do that just how we're doing it here on Zoom.
Exactly.
We want to see you. We want to create empathy together because we want to always be on the same page.
Yeah.
When copywriters and entrepreneurs are not on the same page,
of course,
creative projects, campaigns go sideways, launches go sideways, and that's not what we want. Obviously, nobody wants that.
Yes, I mean, that's extremely important that we're a fit to start off with, and it might just be that we're not. So that's why we have this type of conversation. We want to make sure we're all on the same page. And when it comes to the creative, you know, there's no egos, there's no, you know, let us be people that go off and run our little black box and come back with some made up solution, which you're going to take because we say so. This is collaborative, as we've always said. We're working on this vision, but all the time you're going to see what we're doing. We're transparent. We put together some leads in a Google Doc, you know, run them by you. You'll see what's happening. So it'll all be built up organically. And again, that's the way to ensure the best creative, because that's where we bring all of the strengths from all around the table in. So you're going to be seeing us lead this, blueprinting your vision, but you know, you're going to have an active role in the whole process, and that's important. And the results bit we touched on already. I mean, we are always testing. Even before we launch, we're trying multiple leads because, as Mark, you just said, you never know what's going to work. But once we have that data, that's when the magic happens. We can really isolate what's working and get rid of what's not, and then start to improve and improve and improve, beat ourselves until we have something that works, something that's a winner that we can scale up and grab a share of that market, which is what everyone wants, right?
Absolutely. And we have copywriters. Us will be on the call. One of us or both of us will always be on the call, and us or whoever copywriter is the most appropriate to do Facebook ads, Google ads, emails, lead generation pages like our editorials, blogs, articles, lead magnets, quizzes, interstitial pages between quizzes and sales letters, or VSLs, checkout pages, upsells, downsells. Whatever is needed, we can do the whole funnel. But generally, when we start with the front end money page, the page that is the pre-sale page that is meant to trigger the actual front end sell, and then build the upsells and then build the lead gen to it. So we have a process, and you know, depending on what you need, we can do it all, or we can take up bits and pieces and then build from there. So 2 roads ahead. This is one of the elements, crossroads. There's always 2 choices. Now, there's the old generic marketing agency, which is usually based in churn and burn. If you go to a digital agency, typically you don't know what copywriter is going to be writing your copy. You're not going to have interaction with that copywriter. You're not going to really have that much say over what that copywriter or copywriters ends up submitting for deliverables. Our copywriting agency, we are collaborating 1000% of the time. So there's never any question about what's being produced, and it's all live, and we encourage as much collaboration and interaction inside the actual Google Docs as possible. So there's nobody that can say, oh, I didn't know what was going on, because we all know what's going on. Collaboration, huge. Also, campaigns that stand the test of time. We're not here to just churn and burn, get something out, and then hopefully it works, and then maybe we can build something on it. As Mike just mentioned, launching with a single piece of creative is about as dumb a thing as any of us can do. I'm not putting anybody down. Nobody's dumb, but there are dumb actions. Launching with a single piece of creative is a dumb action. That's why we always write multiple leads for like a sales letter, a VSL, a webinar. Doesn't matter. Webinar registration pages, by the way, in the beginning lead gen. So that's the difference. Working together towards creating something that stands the test of time, or not working together and maybe churning and burning. So let's talk. My information is right here on the screen. Just reach out to me. I'll connect you with Mike, with the copywriter that, or copywriters that is going to be the most appropriate to be on your project or to be involved. But let's get the conversation going. Let's get the ball rolling. Let's talk. Let's hear what you have to say. What's your vision? And then listen to what we have to say. This is recorded live on Zoom. It's free. It's 30 minutes. Let's have a conversation and see what's real, what isn't. Vet your creative out. We do the same. So anything else to add there, Mike?
No, I think we covered it all, but just to say it's, it's just about talking, and let's see if it's a fit. We're both really excited. I think people can see already the way we work, the way we collaborate. This is only going to grow and be taken forward. So there it is. We'll leave it with you, but thanks for listening.
Awesome. So reach out and we'll be talking soon. Appreciate it, everybody.
Thanks a lot, guys.